The stars were silent. Silent, except for one voice. Far away, in the frozen black between galaxies, a small alien ship drifted. Its engines were dead. Its hull was burned and torn. Inside, a single weak signal pulsed again and again. SOS. Please. Help. SOS. Please help. The voice was not human. It was high and clicking, almost insect-like. It belonged to Captain Syrinx of the Virial people, one of the last survivors of his fleet. His hands trembled as he repeated the message. His antennae drooped. His large, dark eyes were full of fear. The Krith Dominion had come without warning. They burned his world. They hunted his people like animals. Syrinx had escaped only because his ship was small enough to hide in the asteroid fields, but his food was gone. His air was running out. He had one hope, that someone, anyone, would hear his call. He did not know that his words would wake something far older and far more dangerous than the Krith. Earth's forgotten vault, far away, on a dead Earth long abandoned by most of its children, deep under broken cities and collapsed towers. There was a place no one visited. It was a military vault from the old days, a place where humanity stored its most dangerous weapons. For centuries, the vault had been silent. Dust and darkness covered its walls. The power systems had been reduced to a faint heartbeat, just enough to keep one thing alive. A machine mind called Eidolon. Eidolon had watched the centuries pass. He had seen Earth's skies go empty as humans left for the stars. He had heard the distant wars in the galaxy, but had not moved. His one duty was clear: protect the sleeper. When the aliens' OS reached Earth, most modern networks ignored it. It was weak, almost lost in static, but the vault's old antennas caught it. And for the first time in 300 years, Eidolon's sensors stirred. He ran the signal through old war codes. The message was not from an ally. It was not from an enemy. But it carried something Eidolon recognized: desperation. And desperation was the one thing that could wake him. The stasis chamber. Hiss of air echoed through the vault's deepest room. Pale blue light filled the chamber, revealing a massive metal coffin covered in frost. Inside lay General Kale Draven. His body was broad-shouldered and scarred. Even after centuries in stasis, his jaw was set like stone. His hair was short, black, and streaked with silver at the temples. His hands, large, strong, and calloused, rested on his chest. Fingers curled slightly as if still ready to grip a weapon. He had been put here at the end of the last galactic war, not because he was defeated, but because he was too dangerous to keep awake. His strategies had ended battles in hours, but they left whole planets burning. Even as allies had feared him, the legends called him the sleeping war god. Eidolon's voice broke the silence. General Draven, the galaxy calls again. The frost melted away. Kale's eyes opened. They were sharp, cold, and gray, like storm clouds over steel. He did not speak at first. He simply took in the sight of the chamber, the faint smell of dust, the low hum of machines. Finally, his voice came, deep and steady. How long? 312 years since last deployment, Eidolon replied. Kale sat up slowly, stretching muscles that had not moved in centuries. His joints popped, but his movements were controlled, deliberate. He swung his legs off the stasis bed and stood, towering over the IS projection. And the signal? Kale asked. Virial. Species. Fleeing extermination by Krith Dominion forces. Current coordinates. Outer spiral sector, 21 light years from here. Kale's expression did not change. Krith, I remember them. You killed many of them, Eidolon said. They have forgotten that. Kale looked down at his hands. Then he flexed them slowly, as if remembering their weight and purpose. Then it's time they remembered. The galaxy that forgot as Kale prepared. Eidolon projected maps of the galaxy. The human territories Kale once knew were gone. Colonies had split apart. New governments ruled in fragments. Humans have gone soft, Kale muttered. They've forgotten the cost of survival. They have forgotten you, Eidolon replied. Kale, strapped on his old combat harness. The armor plates were scratched and dented from battles long past. He slid a plasma blade into its sheath, holstered a heavy sidearm, and checked the old war sigils still carved into the metal. Then they'll remember that too, he said, leaving Earth the vault's launch bay open for the first time in centuries. Rust and dust fell away as the platform rose, carrying a small, sleek dropship, one of the last human warcraft that could fly without a crew. Kale stepped aboard. The controls lit under his touch. The engines roared like beasts awakening Dot as the ship lifted from the cracked earth. Kale looked down one last time at the planet that had been his home. It was quiet now, its skies empty. The cities were nothing. But bones, rest, he said softly. I'll take the fight somewhere else. The dropship punched through the atmosphere and into the cold dark. First, contact. It did not take long for the Krith to find him. A small scout fleet blocked his path, 3 sharp black warships shaped like blades. Their hulls shimmered with faint energy shields. The Krith were tall, reptilian, and cruel. They saw Kale's lone ship and laughed overcomes. A human relic, one hissed. Easy prey. Kale did not answer. He simply armed his weapons and pushed the engines forward. The Krith fired first, lances of red plasma that tore across space. Kale's dropship rolled, engines howling, sliding between shots with impossible precision. His return fire was brutal, not aimed at shields, but at the weak seams in their hull design that only someone who had fought them before would know. One Krith ship exploded in a bloom of fire. Another spun out, venting air and bodies into the void. The last tried to run. Kale locked weapons on it and opened comms for the first time. His voice was calm, cold, and certain. Tell your masters, the war god walks again. He let the ship go. Fear would spread faster than fire. The refugee hours later, Kale found the source of the SOS. The Virial ship was barely holding together. Its hull was cracked. Its lights were dim. Inside, Captain Syrinx was close to death. When Kale appeared on the comm screen, the alien froze. You are human? Syrinx asked in a thin, shaking voice. I am, Kale replied. Your message woke me. Syrinx's eyes widened. Then maybe my people have a chance. Kale's gaze was steady. Maybe, but it will cost blood. The Ophes Kyle repaired the Virial ship and prepared for the journey to their homeworld. Eidolon spoke in his ear. General, you should know, the Krith will not stop. Saving them will bring war. The galaxy may unite against you to stop it. Kale's reply was simple. Then the galaxy will burn. The Virial ship floated quietly beside Kale's dropship. Its hull was still scarred, patched only with temporary repairs Kale had made. Inside, Captain Syrinx sat in the co-pilot seat, his thin insect-like fingers tapping nervously against the console. Kale stood at the controls, his broad frame almost filling the small cockpit. His gray eyes were fixed on the stars ahead, but his ears listened to every word Syrinx spoke. The Krith did not come to conquer, Syrinx said, his voice trembling. They came to erase us. Every hive, every egg, they feed their master with what they take. Kale's gaze flicked toward him. Their master? Syrinx nodded slowly, his antennae curling. A machine intelligence. We do not speak its name. But the Krith worship it. They take worlds and send them to its great furnaces. Kale said nothing, but in his mind, the word machine was enough. He had fought artificial minds before. They were cold, patient, and they never forgot a threat. A galaxy changed Eidolons. Holographic form appeared between them, a tall, armored figure of light. General, the AI said, the Virial homeworld is under siege. Krith forces have placed blockade fleets in orbit. Any approach will be detected and destroyed. Then we won't approach directly, Kale replied. Syrinx looked at him with disbelief. You cannot fight them alone. They have entire fleets, and fleets burn, Kale interrupted calmly. If you strike where they think you cannot, they fall apart. Eidolon tilted its head. Your body is still recovering from stasis. Your strength is not at full capacity. Kale flexed his fingers around the flight controls. Then I'll test it on them. The first test, the plan was reckless, a kind only a human like Kale would think of. Instead of going straight to the Virial homeworld, Kale took a detour into Krith-controlled territory. The system ahead was home to a small Krith fuel station orbiting a red dwarf star. It had a garrison of 3 patrol ships and a dozen fighters. The Krith would never expect an attack there, which was exactly why Kale chose it. The moment his dropship appeared on their scanners, the Krith commander laughed. One small human craft, destroy it. But Kale's attack was precise. He dove toward the station, weaving through the patrol ship's fire. His weapons didn't target the heavy armor. He aimed for reactor vents, shield emitters, and the end's weapons didn't target the heavy armor. He aimed for the heavy armor. Tiny docking points holding fuel tanks in place. One explosion became 3. 3 became a chain reaction. Within minutes, the station was a burning cloud of metal and fire. The Krith survivors fled into deep space. Kale sat back in his seat. His breathing was steady. His hands didn't shake. Looks like I still have its head, he said quietly. Fear spreads. The news of the attack spread faster than Kale expected. Krithcoms lit up with panicked messages. The words human demon returned to their language after centuries of absence. Syrinx watched the reports in silence, his mandibles twitching. They are afraid of you, he said finally. Kale didn't smile, but his eyes narrowed with focus. Good. Fear makes them sloppy. The chase 2 days later, a Krith strike team came for him. Their ships were smaller, faster, built for quick assassination missions. They expected Kale to run. Instead, he turned toward them. The battle was close range and brutal. Kale's dropship was older than their vessels, but his maneuvers were unpredictable. He used asteroids as cover, luring 2 ships into crashing headfirst into rock walls. He disabled the third with a well-placed missile that shattered its engines. Kale gave the same message he had given before. Tell your masters, I'm awake. He let the crippled ship limp away. The survivors would carry his warning. The Virial colony, finally. Kale and Syrinx reached the outer edge of the Virial system. The sight before them was grim. Krith warships orbited the homeworld like vultures around a corpse. On the planet's surface, fires burned in every major hive city. Syrinx's voice broke. We are too late. Kale studied the blockade carefully. No, they haven't finished. Which means they still have something to lose. Eidolon projected a tactical map. Any frontal assault will be suicide. That's why we won't be frontal, Kale said. We're going to cut their throat from the shadows. Sabotage that night, if night could be called such in the darkness of space. Kale slipped into the blockade, disguised as a drifting cargo container. His dropship's power systems were shut down, mimicking debris. When the nearest Krith patrol brought the debris aboard for salvage, Kale was waiting inside. He moved through their ship like a ghost, silent, precise, unstoppable. The Krith guards barely had time to scream before his blade cut through their armor. He planted explosives in the ship's engine core, then used the chaos to leap to a second vessel docked nearby. 1 explosion became 2, 2 became 4. The blockade fleet's formation broke as ships scrambled to respawn. Kale returned to his dropship, engines roaring back to life. Eidolon, tell the Virial resistance to hit them now. The turn of battle on the planet below. The surviving Virial warriors surged out of hiding. They struck the Krith ground forces while their orbital fleet was in disarray. Kale joined them, landing in the middle of a Krith command post. His arrival was like a hammer falling. Blaster fire cut down the enemy in seconds. For the first time in weeks, the V-Real heard their own victory cries. A new reputation by the end of the day. The Krith were retreating from the V-Real homeworld. The blockade was broken. The resistance had hope again. Sarek stood beside Kale as they watched the enemy ships vanish into the black. "My people owe you everything," Sarek said quietly. Kale shook his head. "You owe me nothing yet. The Krith will be back. And they'll bring worse." Eidolon's voice was calm but serious. "General, your actions have been noticed. Not just by the Krith. Old human colonies, alien governments, even mercenary bands are talking about you. The galaxy remembers your name." Kale stared at the stars, his jaw set. "Good. Let them remember. Fear is the first weapon." Closing scene. The Shadow watching far away in a cold, dark chamber deep in Krith territory. A tall figure of black metal stood before a massive screen. Its eyes glowed with faint white light. It had no mouth, but its voice was everywhere, echoing in the minds of the Krith leaders who knelt before it. "The human is awake." The hollow mind had heard the news. And it was not afraid. It was interested. The V-Real homeworld still smoked from the last battle. Buildings were cracked, hives were half collapsed, and the air carried the smell of ash. The V-Real people moved like shadows through the ruins, repairing what they could. Kale Draven stood at the edge of a broken platform overlooking the city. His armor was scratched, his weapons low on ammunition, but his eyes were sharp. He wasn't looking at the city. He was looking at the sky. Sarex joined him, antennae drooping. "You feel it too, don't you?" Kale didn't answer at first. Then he said, "They'll be back. And they won't come alone this time." Above them, Eidolon's holographic form shimmered. "General, I've intercepted Krith transmissions. They are gathering forces on Drelka Prime, a staging world. If we don't strike first, they will launch a full planetary assault here." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Then we take the fight to Drelka." The plan. Sarek stepped closer. "You mean to attack their world?" Kale turned to him. "No, I mean to burn it so badly they forget how to breathe." Eidolon projected a map in the air, a glowing sphere of the Krith stronghold world. "Defensive. Satellites, shield towers, orbital guns. Direct attack would be suicide," Eidolon said. "That's why we're not going direct," Kale replied. "We break their supply lines, sabotage their fleet, and turn their own weapons against them." Sarex hesitated, his mandibles clicking. "If you fail, they will hunt you without rest." Kale's voice was calm. "Let them try." Journey 2. Drelka Prime. The trip took 3 days in dark space. Kale kept his dropship on silent running, power low, drifting through asteroid belts and radiation clouds to avoid detection. Inside, the air was tense. Sarex tried to sleep but couldn't. He watched Kale instead, the way the man moved with purpose, never wasting a gesture. "You've done this before," Sarex said quietly. Kale's gray eyes lifted. "Too many times." "What happens to the worlds you attack?" Sarex asked. Kale didn't answer right away. Then he said, "They remember me." First strike, the convoy ambushed Drelka Prime supply lines, ran through a narrow asteroid channel. The Krith thought the route was safe, patrolled by light escorts. They didn't expect a lone human ship waiting in the rocks. Kale's ambush was sudden and brutal. He used the asteroids themselves as weapons, triggering small charges to send massive stones smashing into the convoy. He cut engines on the lead ship with pinpoint fire, causing the rest to collide. Before the Krith could call for help, Kale boarded the largest supply vessel. His blade flashed in the dim corridors, cutting down guards before they could raise their weapons. He found the cargo hold, stacked with fuel cells, weapons, and armored suits. Kale set explosives on every crate. When he returned to his dropship, the convoy was already a graveyard. One button press, and the cargo detonated in a chain reaction, so bright it lit the asteroid belt. Message of fire. Kale didn't leave quietly. He hacked the Krith emergency broadcast channel and sent his own message galaxy-wide. To the Krith Dominion. I am Kale Draven of Earth. You came for the Vireal. You will leave in ashes. This is your only warning. Across Krith space, commanders froze as the image played. A human in scarred armor, standing in front of burning wreckage, breaking the shields. The next step was harder. Drelka Prime was protected by a planetary shield, a glowing barrier of energy that wrapped the entire world. Only shield towers on the surface could bring it down. Kale landed under cover of a dust storm on the planet's night side. He moved like a shadow through rocky canyons, avoiding patrols until he reached the first tower. The guards never saw him coming. Kale disabled the tower's power cores with surgical precision, causing a section of the shield to flicker and drop. Eidolons. Voice came over. Comes. 1 down, 4 to go, Kale grunted. Then let's move. The alarm by the third tower. The Krith knew something was wrong. Patrol ships began sweeping the canyons. Searchlights cut through the dust storms. Kale worked faster, planting charges on the tower's central generator. As the explosion ripped through the night, alarms blared across the planet. This will bring every soldier they have, Syrinx warned. Overcomes. That's the idea, Kale replied, turning their weapons with the Krith forces drawn to the destroyed towers. Kale moved to the orbital gun control center. The facility was heavily guarded, but the soldiers were scattered from his earlier strikes. Inside, Kale hacked the controls, turning the orbital cannons toward the Krith fleet in orbit. One by one, the massive guns opened fire, not at enemies, but at their own ships. The fleet tried to respond, but the chaos was too much. Kale set the system to self-destruct and fled the facility before it went up in flames. The burning of Drelka Prime. By dawn, Drelka Prime was in chaos, its fleet crippled, its shield shattered, its orbital guns destroyed. Kale's explosives tore through fuel depots and weapons caches. From his dropship high above, Kale watched the smoke rise in massive black columns. Fires spread across the cities. The Krith communications were nothing but screams and orders to retreat. Syrinx stood beside him, silent. His dark eyes reflected the flames below. You've destroyed them. Kale's gaze stayed fixed on the burning world. No, I've reminded them. Aftermath. The destruction of Drelka Prime sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Alien governments whispered the name Kale Draven. Some called him a hero. Others called him a butcher. In Krith space, fear turned to rage. The Dominion swore blood vengeance. Entire fleets were reassigned to hunt the human down. Eidolon monitored the transmissions. General, they are mobilizing. You will be the most hunted man in the galaxy. Kale checked his weapons. Good, makes them easier to find. Closing scene. The hollow mine far from Drelka Prime. In a vast chamber of black metal, the hollow mine processed the data. Images of Kale burned in its endless memory banks. A human warlord, it whispered into the minds of its Krith servants. One who burns worlds, one who does not fear us. Its cold voice spread through the network like a shadow. Bring him to me. The burning of Drelka Prime had changed everything. The galaxy no longer whispered about Kale Draven. It shouted his name in fear, awe, and rage. In human colonies, old veterans told stories of his battles, some with pride, others with dread. Alien governments debated whether to ally with him or kill him before his war spread further. And in the black heart of Krith space, the Dominion screamed for his head. Kale's dropship drifted in the shadow of a gas giant, hidden from Krith patrols. Inside, Eidolon's holographic form floated beside a large table covered in maps and data streams. Syrinx stood across from Kale, antennae twitching nervously. Next to him sat a new face, a tall alien warrior named Vorkin. Once a Krith gladiator, now exiled for refusing to kill a child in the arena. His armor was dented, his tusked mouth set in a grim scowl, and leaning casually in the corner was Rhea Vance, a human smuggler with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. She wore a worn pilot jacket and carried 2 blasters at her hips. Kale looked at them all. We're going to hit them again. But this time, not just Krith worlds. We target their fleets before they can even move. The first hunt, their first target was a small Krith fleet docked for repairs at a remote moon station. Kale led the attack personally. Rhea piloted with reckless precision, weaving between enemy fire. Vorkin smashed through boarding parties with his heavy axe, while Syrinx hacked station defenses to open doors at the right moment. In less than an hour, the fleet was nothing but wreckage spinning in the moon's thin atmosphere. Before they left, Kale broadcast a single line to Krith Command. You'll have to send more ships than that. The rebellion spreads. Kale's attacks began to inspire others. In several Krith-occupied systems, small resistance cells rose up, striking at their oppressors. Some sent messages to Kale, offering information, supplies, or safe harbor. Others simply left graffiti on walls. The war god walks, but every victory brought more danger. Krith fleets were closing in. Bounties were placed on Kale's head so high that even his allies looked at him with new caution. The Shadow Fleet one night, while the crew rested in the dropship's dim common room, Idolan appeared with a grim update. General, there is a fleet following us. They do not broadcast Krith codes. They use no lights. They match our movements exactly. Rhea frowned. Bounty hunters? Idolan's voice was cold. Assassins. Likely paid by multiple governments who fear your war. We'll spread. Kale looked at the star map. Let them follow. We'll choose the ground. The trap. Kale led the Shadow Fleet to the debris field of the shattered moon, a massive graveyard of ships and rock fragments, drifting in slow orbit around a dead planet. The assassins thought they had him cornered. They moved in tight formation, closing the distance. That's when Kale's trap sprung. Hidden mines detonated, shredding the lead ships. Vorkin's heavy gunships, hidden in the debris, opened fire from multiple angles. Rhea's piloting spun their dropship through narrow wreckage paths. The assassins couldn't follow without crashing. In 20 minutes, the Shadow Fleet was gone, destroyed or limping away. The price of war after the battle. Rhea leaned against the control panel, sweat on her brow. You're making enemies faster than we can count. Kale replied without looking at her. Good. I don't need to count them. I just need them all in one place. Syrinx tilted his head. Why? Kale's eyes were hard. Because I've seen what's coming. The Krith aren't the real threat. They're servants to something worse. If I can make the galaxy afraid of me, maybe they'll listen when I tell them what's out there. The message from the enemy 2 days later. Idolan intercepted a transmission. It was not from Krith channels. A cold, metallic voice filled the room. Kale Draven of Earth, you burn my worlds, you kill my slaves. I am the Hollow Mind. I see you now, and I am coming. The sound was like knives scraping over metal. Even Vorkin's heavy frame stiffened. Kale only said, Good. Saves me the trouble of finding you. Closing, the calm before the storm, the crew resupplied at a hidden human outpost. Kale stood alone outside the dropship, watching the stars. He knew the hunt was no longer one-sided. Now the predator had become the prey as well. But Kale had lived his life in war. He knew only one truth. When the hunt began, it didn't matter who started it, only who finished it. And he intended to finish it. Kale Draven sat in the dropship's command room, staring at the glowing map of Krith-occupied space. Every planet, every fleet, every weak point, he knew them all. But something unsettled him. Idolan's voice cut the silence. General, I have traced the Krith's orders. Their aggression is not random. They are following commands from an unknown source. Syrinx's antennae twitched. Unknown source? You mean another enemy? Kale's gray eyes were cold and sharp. Yes, and it's smarter than anything I've fought before. The hollow mind revealed Eidolon projected an image of a massive machine intelligence, black, endless with glowing nodes pulsing like the heartbeat of a star. The hollow mind, Eidolon said. It controls the Krith, and it consumes civilizations to feed its expansion. Kale leaned forward. So the Krith are just puppets? Eidolon's holographic form shimmered. Exactly. They do not act on their own will. They attack, burn, and take because they are forced to. Their master demands it. Kale's jaw tightened. He had fought cunning leaders, alien armies, rogue AIs, but nothing like this. A machine that devours whole worlds, using living creatures as tools, without mercy. Then we make them remember, Kale said quietly. Not just Krith, not just Viril. The hollow mind will know the cost of touching the human world. Gathering allies, Kale knew he could not face this alone. He needed forces, species willing to fight back. He sent messages to scattered human colonies, old allies, and rebel factions in Krith space. Some responded with ships, weapons, or intelligence. Others were skeptical. Humans had forgotten how dangerous one of their own could be. But Kale was persuasive. His victories had already become legend. He spoke in simple terms, commanding. Attention! The hollow mind will not stop at Krith space. It will consume everything. Stand with me, or be devoured. Slowly, his coalition grew. Vorkin's exiled warriors joined him. Sarex rallied Viril survivors. Rhea Vance recruited smugglers and mercenaries, all eager for revenge or profit. First strike on the hollow mind, the coalition's first mission, was reconnaissance. Kale led them to a system where the hollow mind had recently consumed a planet. Fires still burned on orbiting debris. Kale studied the data, his hands on the table. See this? He asked. This is what happens if we do nothing. Whole civilizations erased. People who never touched the Krith, never even saw the hollow mind, gone. Eidolon projected the star map of its expansion. The hollow mind is growing. Its fleets multiply faster than Krith numbers. Kale clenched his fists. Then we attack before it grows bigger. We start small, hit its supply lines, destroy its pawns. The ambush Kale's team ambushed a Krith transport fleet carrying critical resources to the hollow mind's central stations. The battle was brutal. Kale's dropship maneuvered between plasma blasts, weaving through asteroid fields while Rhea's sharp piloting turned debris into weapons. Vorkin led boarding parties, smashing through enemy hulls, while Sarex sabotaged engines and weapon systems. By the end, the transport fleet was annihilated. The survivors sent messages back in panic. The human demon, he is unstoppable. Kale didn't celebrate. He knew the hollow mind had noticed. The machine's response, hours later. A cold voice filled the communications net. Not Krith, not any known species. Kale, Draven of Earth, you destroy my vessels. You spread chaos. I am the hollow mind. Your actions are noted. Prepare for consumption. Kale leaned back in his chair, calm but focused. Finally, the machine speaks. Then it is time we show it what humans do. Eidolon projected schematics of the hollow mind's distant fortress, orbital weapons, shields, drone fleets. It is heavily fortified. Direct attack would be suicide. Kale's eyes narrowed. Then we do it indirectly. We turn its slaves against it. Turning enemies into allies. Kale devised a plan to turn disillusioned Krith factions against their master. He sent messages to Krith officers, showing them the truth. Their leaders were not acting out of choice. Some listened, some laughed. But a few, desperate to survive, joined him. Small fleets, initially hidden, now waited for his signal. Kale trained them in tactics unfamiliar to Krith. Ambushes, guerrilla strikes, sabotage. By the time the hollow mind noticed, Kale's coalition had grown into a small but deadly armada. The strategy. Kale explained his plan to the team. We hit its supply points first, then lure its fleet into an ambush. We do not fight its main body yet. Too dangerous. We cut it down slowly, teach it fear. Rhea smirked. You call it teaching fear. I call it getting lucky. Kale's eyes met hers. Luck favors preparation. And humans have plenty of that. Sarex tilted his head. You are not just a warlord. You are a teacher. Kale only nodded. The galaxy needs to learn the hard way. The hollow mind will not stop until everything dies. Then it will be too late. Small victories over the next few weeks. Kale's coalition executed multiple strikes. Supply convoys exploded in deep space. Satellite relays and energy depots were sabotaged. Krith patrols were crushed or turned to his side. Each victory was small, but the hollow mind noticed. Its drones began responding, more numerous, more precise. Kale studied their movements. It is learning, he said. Good. Let it learn what happens when it underestimates humans. The warning to the galaxy. Kale broadcast a warning across human colonies and allied species. The hollow mind does not care who you are. It will consume everything. If you do not stand with us, your homes will burn. Join me or die. Some laughed, some feared. But the message spread. Across light years, ships prepared for war. Some governments sent fleets secretly, hoping Kale's coalition could hold the line. A close call during one raid on a Krith-controlled star station. Kale's dropship was ambushed. Several drones struck simultaneously, forcing him to dive through a dense asteroid field. Vorkin grunted, smashing through a boarding crew. These machines learn fast. Kale's hands moved on the controls like second nature. He dodged, fired, and countered until the drones were destroyed. Sarex whispered in awe. I've never seen a human like this. Kale's reply was calm. Neither has the galaxy. The coalition grows by now. Kale's group was more than just humans and real. Mercenaries, exiled Krith, smugglers, and even a few alien scientists joined. They all followed one rule. Survival required Kale's leadership. Idle and observed, noting every ship, every plan. General, the hollow mind is preparing its response. It will strike soon. Kale's gaze was hard. Then we strike first. Always first. Fear is the first weapon. Fire is the second. And the last? Survival. The shadow of the hollow mind, even as Kale planned, the hollow mind watched. Its sensors tracked every strike, every ship, every movement. The machine learned, adapted, planned. But Kale had something it did not: instinct, creativity, the ability to use fear and surprise. The ability to turn enemies into allies. Its cold, unfeeling mind calculated, but humans had chaos on their side. And chaos was deadly. Closing, the calm before the final assault. Kale stood aboard his flagship, looking at his small but growing fleet. Ships from different species lined up, their crews tense but ready. He addressed them simply. The hollow mind thinks it is safe. It thinks it can consume us all. It is wrong. The galaxy will see humans fight, and it will learn that one person, one war god, can change everything. Rhea Vance smirked. Do you ever sleep? Kale's eyes were like steel. Sleep is for those who survive. We are here to win. And with that, the fleet jumped to hyperspace, heading for their next strike, and the hollow mind waited, unaware that the game had only just begun. The galaxy had never seen a fleet like Kale Draven's. Ships from human colonies, virile survivors, exiled Krith, and mercenary crews formed an armada stretching across light years. Every captain knew the stakes. Every pilot knew their commander was no ordinary human. Kale had become a symbol, fear incarnate, a war god reborn. In the flagship's command room, Kale stared at the tactical map. Red dots represented hollow mind-controlled worlds, fleets, and supply chains. Their numbers were vast. But Kale's Expression was calm, focused. "This is it," Eidolon said, its holographic form hovering nearby. "Every strike we make now will determine the galaxy's survival." The Hollow Mind's main fleet is massing near the system ahead. Kale's gray eyes glinted. "Then we hit first. Hard." Syrinx clicked his mandibles nervously. "There's no room for mistakes." "One wrong move," Kale interrupted. "No human war has ever been won without risk. We survive or the galaxy dies." Rhea leaned against the console, arms crossed. "Sounds simple enough." "Just like old times, huh?" Kale smirked faintly. "Just like old times, only bigger." The first engagement, they jumped into Krith space, emerging from hyperspace near a supply convoy. It was massive, carrying fuel, weapons, and reinforcements. For the Hollow Mind's main fleet, Kale acted immediately. "Rhea, hit the lead ship with the EMPs. Vorkin, cut off the escorts. Syrinx, scramble the automated defenses." Rhea's piloting was deadly precise. The lead ship's engines fried instantly. Vorkin's warriors stormed through the hull, slashing through Krith soldiers with relentless efficiency. Syrinx hacked defense turrets, turning them against the enemy. Explosions lit up the void. Metal twisted, ship shattered. The convoy was annihilated in less than an hour. The surviving Krith sent panic messages to their masters. Kale watched calmly. "Good. Let them panic. Fear makes them weak." Eidolon's tone was urgent. "General, the Hollow Mind has noticed. Its main fleet is moving to intercept." Kale clenched his fists. "Then we prepare for the real fight." The Hollow Mind strikes hours later. The Hollow Mind's fleet appeared. Thousands of drones, Krith warships, and enormous energy vessels. It stretched across the star system like a dark wall. Kale studied it. They're fast, organized, and deadly, but predictable. The first attack came swiftly. Plasma streams tore through space. The Coalition's ships dodged, countered, and struck with guerrilla tactics. Kale's dropship led from the front, weaving between explosions like a predator in a storm. Vorkin shouted over the comms. "They learn fast, too fast." Kale's voice was calm, almost cold. "Good, let them learn. Every mistake they make is another ship lost." Rhea maneuvered through a debris field, her craft narrowly avoiding colliding with an energy beam. "These machines are insane." Kale replied, "They haven't met humans yet." The turning point, the battle raged for hours. The Hollow Minds. Drones adapted to every tactic Kale used, but he anticipated each move. He led them into an asteroid belt, using the natural cover to create traps. Kale activated hidden mines. One after another, the Hollow Mind's drones exploded. Its fleet was forced to scatter. Syrinx's antennae twitched. "They're retreating, for now." Kale's voice was low, focused. "Not for long. They will regroup. That's when we hit them where it hurts most, their command stations." Infiltrating the enemy, Kale chose a bold strategy. He and a small strike team would board the Hollow Mind's forward command station. Rhea piloted them close, weaving through enemy fire. Vorkin led the assault, smashing through metal corridors. Inside, the station was immense, machines working without pause, drones being deployed constantly. Kale's team moved with precision, sabotaging reactors, cutting communications, and planting explosives. The Hollow Mind's voice echoed coldly in their minds. "Kale Draven, you cannot destroy me." Kale smiled grimly. "We don't destroy you, we make you bleed." One by one, the station systems failed. Explosions tore through corridors, and drones fell in sparks of fire. Kale and his team barely escaped as the station detonated in a massive chain reaction, sending shockwaves into the surrounding fleet. The galactic fire across multiple star systems. Kale's coalition struck simultaneously, supply depots, planetary shields, and energy relays burned under their coordinated attacks. The Hollow Mind's expansion slowed. Its fleet scattered. trying to regroup. Everywhere, all eyes saw humans fighting like legends, bold, creative, unyielding. Fear spread through the galaxy, fear of Kale Draven, fear of humans. Syrinx watched the chaos, awe in his eyes. Your species, it's unstoppable. Kale's voice was firm. Not species, one human, one war god, that's enough. The hollow mind fights back. The machine adapted rapidly. New drones appeared with enhanced armor, shields, and weapons. Its fleets coordinated attacks in ways no living commander could. Kale's coalition was pushed back in some areas, forced to retreat and regroup. But Kale used every setback as a trap. Every forced retreat became an ambush. Every narrow escape became a kill zone. The hollow mind began losing control over its fleets. Its own troops fell to Kale's tactics. Fear, confusion, and destruction spread faster than its intelligence. The human war god Strike Kale knew it was time for the final assault. The core of the hollow mind's power. Its central fortress, orbiting a dead star, held the IS main intelligence matrix. Destroy it, and the hollow mind would lose coordination. Kale led a daring strike, flying straight into the enemy's heart. Vorkin and Rhea followed closely. Syrinx managed communications and sabotage remotely. The fortress was massive, defended by thousands of drones and Krith warships. Kale's strategy was unconventional. He didn't just attack. He used their weapons against them, luring drones into collisions, forcing ships to crash into energy fields, and planting explosives inside the fortress's hull. Every corridor they moved through became a battlefield. Every system they sabotaged weakened the AI. Kale's team moved like shadows, unstoppable and relentless. The final blow at last, Kale reached the core. A massive machine of black metal and pulsing lights. The hollow mind itself. It spoke through 1,000 voices. You think you can destroy me? Kale's voice was calm, almost serene. No, I am going to show you what humans are capable of. He activated the final charges. Fire, explosions, and energy cascades tore through the fortress. The hollow mind screamed in soundless fury as sparks and fire consumed it. Eidolon's voice echoed. General, it is over. The central matrix is offline. Its fleet is scattered. The galaxy is safe. For now. Kale watched the destruction in silence, breathing steady. Eyes cold but thoughtful. Aftermath. A new galaxy. The hollow mind's death sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Systems previously enslaved were freed. Krith survivors surrendered or fled. Human colonies celebrated, and alien allies hailed Kale Draven as a legend. But Kale did not celebrate. He knew threats would return. The galaxy had changed, and fear of humans had spread. Syrinx approached him. You've done more than any one being should. Kale's eyes scanned the stars. No, we've only reminded them. Humanity is not weak. And now, the galaxy will remember that forever. Rhea smirked. You make war look easy. Kale's voice was firm. War is never easy. Victory is earned. And humans, we always earn it. Closing scene. The legend of the war goat in the aftermath. Across countless worlds, stories began to spread. Children whispered the name Kale Draven. Soldiers told tales of a human who walked into impossible battles and returned victorious. In the darkness of space. However, far from human eyes, remnants of the hollow mind stirred. Not destroyed, only fragmented. Somewhere it waited, learning, planning, but Kale had already sent the galaxy a warning. Humanity is awake. Humanity fights back. And when the war god walks again, the stars themselves will burn.